hacer resumen electoral.
Happy holidays! I've got a gift for you. Buy 4 tarot readings or coaching session gift codes in any combination, and you'll receive 2 additional gift codes too. So use all 6 codes for yourself or share them with friends and family as holiday gifts, stocking stuffers, or maybe even birthday presents. These don't expire, so you can feel free to use them and share them throughout the year. Merry Christmas, and thank you so much for being my friends. Hi there, Aquarius. This is your weekly reading for the week of December 28th through January 3rd. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I wish you wonderful, great good fortune, health, and prosperity to all of yours as well as you. Now, on Monday, the card we've drawn here is wonderful. We've got the Ten of Pentacles upright, which indicates a sense of security and even perhaps financial stability. Now, this sometimes can indicate that a person, even if they're living in a cardboard box under a bridge, is feeling completely secure in that trust that the universe is providing for them in a way that will make their path easier or known to them, or that the signs will present themselves. And in that sense, that is the security. So even if you're thinking, Rita, I really don't have a whole lot of money, well, this isn't necessarily about financial things like money. It's the stability that all of the above, and even the hopefulness that stability will be coming to you. So this is a great card, obviously, to start off the week with. Let's talk about the rest. Tuesday, we've got the Devil card, which just indicates that you need to be mindful that you don't fall back into a pattern of behavior or actions that put you in a position that was not stable. Obviously the devil is trying to warn us not to go back and do the same things that caused us problems before. With the Ten of Pentacles so close to it, we could be feeling so financially and materially and even psychologically and emotionally secure that we go doing what? Spending too much money again, putting ourselves in a position of risk that little security that we worked so hard for now becomes almost gone. It's missing. It starts to crumble and fall away. So the best way to work with this is to think about the astrology that coincides with it. We have on Tuesday the sun in Capricorn, your solar 12th house, sextiling Neptune in Pisces, your solar second house of your money, your income and possessions that you buy with that money, your stuff, the things that you buy to put under the tree for your little kids at Christmas. So the idea of this is a sextile being a harmonious aspect, that you're feeling so good that you want to spend the money or you already did. And maybe you want to spend more because of all the crazy sales that, just drag people into more and more credit card debt. The machine doesn't know you're doing this. This is just a means to an end for the corporations and the businesses that thrive on this spending, which is always good because it's good and take, but it's not good when it puts us in a precarious position. So the best thing to remember here is that financial illusions could be your self-undoing. 12th house, self-undoing. Second house, finances, the money, the stuff, where Neptune, illusion, is sitting at and will be for some time to come. So make sure that you do not put yourself in a precarious position again because of that sense of well-being. It isn't that everything is not okay. It's just that you're feeling so good. It's almost like we're on pain medication and we're put on it because we've had surgery. And the doctor says, reminds me of something my ex-husband did with a vasectomy. You get the picture? Doctor says, go to bed. You're on pain medication. Don't trust it. And then my ex-husband, just to put it right out there, decided he felt so good after the surgery, he was taking me to the mall. And I was like, this seems crazy. Let me tell you, crazy included needing to pack himself with ice when it was time to go back to work because he'd overdone it. And that's the message here. It's not about vasectomy, but it is the sense that everything's okay, and thus we overdo it. Mercury in Capricorn, again, that very quiet solar 12th house, is squaring off with Mars in Libra, your solar 9th house of legal considerations, of agreements that have to do with legal situations, of immigration and naturalization, of higher education and learning, of spiritual pursuits of philosophy, of long distance travels. So maybe the message is you're trying to plan a trip and the universe is like, whoa, are you kidding me? No way. We're in Mercury retrograde, pre-shadow, intensified at this time. Mercury is going to be in retrograde all of January, and to add a cherry on top, it moves into Aquarius, takes one step forward, and then has to go back, where it will go back and be retrograde in your solar. It will go into your first house, and then it's going to retrograde back into that 12th house, and then move right back over it, eventually retracing its steps. So, of course, this is the time to be conservative. This is the time to maybe think it out, wait on it a bit, and then decide whether any of the above considerations are really worth the risk. And you will see that the devil has done you a favor. Wednesday, the Eight of Swords, talks about, very mercurial, isn't it? A sense of feeling trapped, that you don't know whether you go forward, whether you do it or don't do it. Maybe your kid wants something expensive, or your spouse or your girlfriend, your roommate, somebody wants something from you, or you want it for all of you. And yet you're like, oh boy, my gut tells me don't do the thing. And everybody else is like, let's do the thing, Mardi Gras. And we're like, oh gosh, how do I move forward with this? That sense of feeling trapped is, again, almost like a natural navigation warning system, that if you feel confused, it is time to do nothing, right? Just like when you're driving, if you are lost, what's the worst thing you could do? Keep driving, because what will you do? Get more lost, until that moment that you can get help with a phone call or from a friendly and safe and well-lit gas station. All right. We don't keep driving. I know that, the stereotype is that men keep driving when they're lost, and they say they're not. By the time they ask for help, it's probably when they're now about 2 tanks down and about to get back to where they recognize something, because of course they've driven the same path and made the same mistakes so many times. But in this case, would it be a good idea to keep making the mistakes if they could have a financial connotation or repercussion? Probably not the right thing to do. And like the stereotypical man, you don't have to be feeling like you're less of a man just because you ask for directions. In fact, that conservatism is what makes you more powerful, more full of wisdom than anything else. Now, this Eight of Swords coincides with Venus in Scorpio in a semi-square to Pluto in Capricorn. Scorpio, your solar 10th house of career, your chosen profession, your reputation, your image in the world, is out there in a semi-square to Pluto and Capricorn, that solar 12th house. Here the danger is that with the semi-square, you don't really know what the repercussions are going to be, what the consequences could be. This semi-square energy is always one where it's like the square, which is quite obvious, except semi-square is not. So it is very difficult at times to make the adjustment that would help us navigate when we don't know what we're doing. again, you have to be really in touch with your intuitive self, with your higher self, to know that there is something going on. And plus, I'm over here giving you the hints and the cues. I'm throwing them right at you, so it's not so difficult. You have to use your best judgment at the end of the day, like only you can. And Aquarius, you're a fixed sign and you tend to not budge. Do yourself a favor and remember that this isn't about putting your foot down and staying stuck there like as if you had a massive magnet on the bottom of your feet. You don't have to get stubborn about this. You could tell your family if they're the ones clamoring for something, maybe a new device, a TV, a giant computer monitor, anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Maybe your entire family wants like a $3,000 set of stainless steel designer inscribed and autographed freaking cookingware. I don't care. The truth is that this is where the real beauty of knowing how to handle the energy is to say, let's kind of hold off on this. Let's continue to check out the sales and really figure out if maybe we wouldn't just be okay with getting a new replacement for that frying pan, instead of investing in this. So with that said, Venus will move into Sagittarius, your solar 11th house, where I believe you will be able to make a better decision as time moves on. And as Venus moves farther into Sagittarius, where you'll know really what was the bigger picture. Did your family just want more stuff? Was your family just wanting one more very shiny thing? Like the coconut crabs that I talk about all the time. Maybe they want more shiny things. And this is where you have to say, okay, now Christmas is over, Jesus' birthday. We exchanged these sentimental gifts, but now we got to hang tight. So hang tight when you don't know what to do and when you have this many indications that you could be feeling exuberant and expansive. We need to settle down and think about this a little bit. You'll see how much more benefit you get from the actions you take and those you don't, Aquarius. On Thursday, we have the Three of Wands, indicating that just up ahead, there's going to be a better option, a better alternative for you. So you see, if you jump the gun and get on the boat on Monday or Tuesday or even Wednesday, we could have missed a better opportunity because we were just feeling like we needed to go grab that thing like an impulse item at the end of the row. When you're going to check out at Best Buy, let me tell you, those are not packs of gum only. These are very expensive impulse items. So just make sure that you hold yourself together. This is also when Venus in Sagittarius, your solar, 11th house, solar 11th house, is talking to Uranus in Aries, your solar third house of communication, in a sesquiquadrate, which is also a sesquisquare, a sesquiquadrature, a sesquiquadrate. I love it. It's a fun word to say. Pay attention to this because Sagittarius wants to do more and bigger. Uranus is kind of like the fish in a cup energy. And in the third house of communications, you could commit yourself to something that was not a good idea, but it felt like it at the time. Like when you talk to people with giant tattoos, they got a freaking, scenario of heaven and hell on their backs. And, somebody sees us at the first basketball game of the season for the company and they're like, oh my God. And you're like, but it felt like a good idea at the time. It was a good, well, this is where we could get that energy that helps us make a better decision because the sesquiquadrate wants us to take an action to resolve the conflict, not take actions that could become more conflicts later. So the beauty of it, even though it is disharmonious, it is like the semi-square in that we're feeling almost a tension that we need to resolve. But remember, don't just jump to use the proverbial, the hypothetical situation I just gave you, to jump under the needle because you felt like you committed too far. You worked yourself up to have heaven and hell depicted on your back or your backside. Don't just do it because you said you were going to and because you're fixed. You can become as stubborn as a Taurus. So just remember here, the energy is to take an action that corrects a situation or resolves it. Let's just say you've got your kids clamoring for one more thing and your husband saying, just give it to them. your action may be inaction to say, look, right now this is convoluted. I don't feel comfortable with the major purchase again, a $300 thing, or this kid wants to watch, or, you bought one of your kids a, $1,000 laptop and now they're wanting this and that and this accoutrement. This is where inaction, I'm not kidding you, may actually benefit you as it relates to this conversation between Venus in Sagittarius, where everybody's like, but it would be such a good idea, Dad. Come on, come on, come on. Get Satan tattooed on your leg. And you're like, maybe the best thing is to say, yeah, pretty much. Sounds like a great idea. How about we find a Satan tattoo that's temporary? We'll put it on my butt and then we could all call it good. Let's see how we feel about it later. You get the idea? You might want to just stay away from a commitment that may be difficult to undo. The benefit and the beauty is, like I said, right down the road, almost immediately in the middle of February, you'll see. And if it's the more major the consideration, the more permanent, let's just throw cosmetic surgery in there. Yikes. The more major the consideration, the more consequences and steps have to be taken afterward to help it transform what you wanted it to be, the more consideration it deserves in advance. I got a lot of kids these days saying things like, well, but if I hate it, I can go get the tattoo commitment removed. Well, the surprising Uranus factor will be, yeah, at the expense of these very pricey laser treatments, and we can't guarantee, even after 20 of them, that we'll be able to get these horns off your leg. Whatever that is, just think about the commitment being the difficult part. The consideration in the maturity is to hold tight, wait it out. The more permanent, the more consequential, like credit card debt and interest rate, the more you should be considering that debt is not the path to this 10 of Pentacles financial security. This is not something that you need to buy a shiny thing for to feel good about yourself or to pull up in a Mercedes to tell the world that you have arrived. You're already so good, Aquarius. You really don't need anything. We don't even need to put stickers on your body. You walk in, we know you're intelligent. You start talking, we know that we have arrived at the fountain of wisdom and interesting things. So don't feel like you need to prove it to anybody, or you need to detect with your family whether or not they feel that they need something to feel good about this. And I'll bring up again the idea of the Vuitton bag or, the Louboutin shoes. You have to really think about this and say, well, how would anybody know that you're wearing the $600 version of the $30 shoe that we could get at Payless? And that person says, but I want it. And you're thinking, but it's the label, it's the tag. I could walk her down to Times Square. She could get a knockoff that even the professionals would have to take some time to look at tags and zippers and prints and patterns to see if it's it. Again, if that person won't accept, for example, the knockoff shoe or the knockoff bag to see if they really think it's that important, or what happens with it. Does it end up behind a glass cabinet in the dressing room closet and then never sees the light of day? Those are considerations. This is wisdom. And if it does relate to your children, you could be really teaching them something of value. That financial security is financial freedom, not the bag that made you feel good. Because it's difficult to recover the money unless you ended up with something crazy, but just think about this. It may be more beneficial to procrastinate, actually, in this sense, and not take action, but rather, again, what's the key word? Action being inaction. Friday, we have the Magician in reverse, and you could be feeling a little powerless, and it really is more of a sensation and not a reality. The Magician in reverse often feels unable to make progress because they feel that though they have the tools or that the skills are there, they can't make it happen. The window of opportunity is missing, or the skill set to use the tool is missing. And it could even just feel like you're trapped, like the Eight of Swords, and can't move forward. We get people feeling impotent, writers that they can't create. They get stuck with writer's block. This is where the Magician in reverse is like, I can usually make magic happen, and it's not happening. Well, Mercury is moving into Aquarius. This is where we get the one step into your solar, for the purpose of this reading, first house, and you're like, close but no cigar. I just had a dream and oh my God. And then if you do experience something on a psychic level, an intuitive flash, a dream that's very Neptunian, it will probably relate to your finances, that second house, solar house of Pisces. For you is your finances, the stuff you buy, the things you want. The illusions could be there in the blink of an eye. And remember that Neptune is all about the illusions, but we have to remember that as Mercury goes back into your solar 12th house of Capricorn, it's going to have to retrace these steps. So this is where we know we've got the basic idea. You could be designing plans for a patent that you're going to submit, and this is not the time to submit it. It's the time to look at it, take the intuitive flash, create something new, but you're going to go back to the drawing board. So again, very important that you listen to your intuitive flashes. Mercury is right here intensifying his pre-retrograde shadow. So here we go. This is where really you only have about a New York second to write down this intuitive flash, or to wake up and have the dream and go, oh my God. I mean, this is, if ever, the moment to have the pad and paper, the pad and pencil. You guys would be the types that would have a pen that when you click it or touch it, it turns on. Trust me, I know you guys. I've got a brother who's an Aquarius sun and a son is Aquarius sun, and I have seen him just in a flash come up with an idea, and he can grasp it because he has every gizmo, available to, help him control it and to capture that flash. So remember, this is not the time to take the action. This is the time to say, whoa, I'm creating and I feel like I can't move forward. That must mean back to the drawing board, Aquarius. This is where you're going to get that help to solidify, with Capricorn's help, that idea that you got. But it doesn't mean jump over the hurdle. It means sit there at the hurdle and look around and go, where are we at here? What are we doing here? And then retrace your steps is something that will come naturally. But remember, back to the drawing board is what it means. Doesn't mean that you were wrong. On Saturday, we've got the Five of Wands, and we could have the element here of a little friendly competition, or where you decide, you and the Knights of the Round Table love to hash out every controversial subject, from religion and politics to one thing or another that you all agree to disagree on. Or it could really indicate that there is a creative difference or a difference in opinion with what you believe the trajectory should be for your job, for the group effort, for the consensus, for the team, for the tribe even, if not the project. And there could be a difference. You're feeling like, wow, I could see this and nobody's listening to me yet again. I've got the master plan and nobody's on my level. But remember, Aquarius, how many people are actually on your level? Very few. You're a sign that already by nature, and then especially so for rising Aquarius, right? You're very futuristic in your ideas. You're probably ahead of your time. And if you haven't heard it before, you'll start to hear it now that somebody says, it's just, look, your ideas are so far ahead of us that, us lowly creatures are having a hard time seeing your big picture. Develop patience. If ever there's a time to be patient with other people and yourself, it is now, because they're just not going to hear you on this. Let me give you an idea of how this would work with the emphasis of the Ten of Pentacles and the security that is your family and that foundation. All of your family is against you. They are now saying, but we must have a home theater, Dad, Mom, we must have this. And we will not take no, because you see, Mom, Dad, another parent is saying that we can. They're like, sure, that's a great idea. I'm going to build you a home theater complete with rumble box seats down below. Okay, let's think of the amazing ideas that these people could have. And you're going, you know what? I learned a lesson. I learned it from 2012 to present, and we are not getting in credit card debt or in creepy, automobile title loans or payday loans. I think they're illegal in just about every location now. You have to actually go to almost a location that has some level of amnesty or autonomy from the state, like like the Indian reservations, to even get yourself in that mess. So this is where you're saying, bullshit, I just paid off this credit card. We're not doing it. And they're like, blah, blah, pitchforks and torches. But I'm telling you, if you remain patient and say, trust me, I know what's best. I am part of this consideration, if not the head of it, if you're a parent especially, or another elder that holds the keys, if you will. And this is where we get, again, I want to remind you, the pre-Mercury retrograde phase is intensifying. You know, Mercury is just like, coming to this complete stop. And when it hits a sudden stop, that's when we got to say, hey, look, better safe than sorry, better conservative than overly aggressive or just pushing forward through something that is quite obviously an indication that you need to do nothing. Remember, inaction is an action. You may feel free to take it. If your family argues with you, you're going to have to say, I love you. Let's say your daughter starts crying because she really wanted a new vehicle or any vehicle or something, a credit card to finance something weird. And you're saying, I love you. I don't mean to disappoint you. This isn't the right time for this consideration. Trust me on this. She may be upset and take to her bed. Let her do that. There's a lesson for others when we have to say, this is not the right financial move, or this is not the right move for our family. And you guys could have an indication here that you have to get up and move. Some of you will actually be considering getting up and moving, and I guarantee you there will be people in your family that will not be in alignment with this. That also is a major consideration, and thus needs the support and or at least the clarity of each person who is connected to this movement and or change. Even if they're like, we don't want it, we're not moving to Tennessee, and you're saying, look, but my job is probably going to take me there. I'm just saying that we need to consider that there are times when we have to eat, correct? We're going to Tennessee, most likely. Take their input, quell their fears, talk to them, hash this over, because it's probably not going to work out the way you think. In fact, I'm going to give you a heads up cheat sheet here that if something is occurring, changing, whether you like it, don't like it, the adjustment has to do with your career, your chosen profession, as it were, this is probably where it's not going to be what you think it is, or you get promised something and they go back on their word, and it could end up working very much in your favor. But we have to pay attention to the signs and symptoms that the universe is providing for us, that the divine creator, if you will, has given us to work with. So pay attention. And when it's a very major consideration, even if people are going to tell your child to go ahead and, look, sweetheart, you're 16, but I will sit here and make sure, put a helmet on, have your tantrum kicking and screaming, and I will ensure that you're safe, because we cannot take a big risk. And you will love me one day and look back and say, I remember my dad said that this wasn't a good idea. And then you will have given your children a massive, massive lesson and skill that they can use down the line in their own dynasty. Sunday, we have the Fool in reverse. Again, another indication that we don't go taking actions that are new beginnings at this time. We sit still and work on what's on the plate, on the table, on the project list, in the inbox, not new stuff right now, unless the new thing is connected to something you're already working on. A new step, in example, in a project that is right there, hot on your desk or drawing board. That's where you work. We have Mars entering Scorpio, Scorpio being your solar 10th house of career. So I'm going to tell you that you need to take it easy. Remember, the pre-Mercury retrograde shadow is super intense at this time, that you may feel that you need to take great action or move powerfully forward. But this is going to be a very changeable consideration in terms of your work or your career. Remember, if you're a parent, this could be happening to one of your children, because if you're retired, for example, or a homemaker, and your role is support system, which is probably the hardest freaking role ever. Trust me, I live that every day of my life. 3 children. And let me tell you, I'm about to have 2 of them in college at the same time. And I think part of my freak out that landed me in the emergency room on Saturday night had a lot to do with an anxiety attack I had when we went to go see the Star Wars movie. No spoilers here. But emotionally, it was very draining. I loved it. I'm going to go see it again when I can afford it, because my son, my eldest, took us to see it. And then I had anxieties about this very same issue, being in the supportive role, and I'm handling so many irons in the fire. My eldest is going to buy a new car. He knows I won't let him do it until about mid-February. He's an air sign and a rising sign fire, so you know. And then here's mom, the Ouija board, who's sitting in a chair, saying no. And then he was offered a very high paying job. And I had to say, Go ahead and trust your instincts, but I would really like you to not crash and burn at this time. You will so sorely regret it. That's what's going on in that 10th house. Now, let me tell you a word of obvious wisdom that may or may not come across that way, but I promise you that's what my intention is. You may be in a position where you are being asked to do something, to take it in a direction, or maybe even take actions or follow a specific pattern or path or trajectory that you're like, I just know this isn't going to work. Well, I suggest that you take a moment to write a memo, put it in an envelope, write on it, do not open until I tell you. I'm giving you an idea here. And then if their instructions that are beyond your control fail miserably, or you could even hand it to a coworker who will promise not. How about that? Strike that, reverse it. Don't give it to your boss because they could be so pissed off if they open it ahead of time. Put it in an envelope in the hands of somebody or a locked drawer, right? If you work at a bank, find the note cart, lock it into that, and then let them see it afterwards so that they know that this was not what you were in alignment with. Now, you could be asked to do things, take actions, all of the above, and it is not what you want it to be. I guarantee you, for those of you that are being conservative, this will work out better. For those of you who have no choice, you have no choice. What can I say? And if you do have a choice in the matter, take the most conservative approach. Conservative, not Aquarius, futuristic, dynamic, and progressive. Just bring it down a notch. I don't mean this with any sense of insult at all. You guys are the best. I want to see every single one of you working on a team to cure so-called incurable diseases. You guys could do this in your sleep. And the more psychic you get, the more in touch with your intuition, the more connected to your higher self, which we're always all connected. But imagine an atheist is like, nothing doing, nothing but the grave, and yet at the same time, you guys, as you get older, become so refined in this ability that I have absolutely no concern. If I had to put an Aquarian right on, without anything else face value, an Aquarius right there to handle something for me that I say, this is going to require ingenuity, get the freaking Aquarius. They know what to do. I would have no qualms about this, but there could be a disparity between what you see the direction of something should be and the direction your company will take or just took. So now this could be where you say, Rita, but I own my own company. Now what? I'm going to tell you that your clients could be forcing you to take a creative approach in a direction that you don't feel comfortable with. Now, go with what they're asking you to do. Have a written document that says, don't put them down. Don't go, because Aquarius, I know this, my son, my brother, you guys have a tendency to take something and say, no, that's not what it is. It is this. I will not see it any other way. And then I have to go up to my son and actually pull his arms away from his body and extend them to the sides and say, you see, there's more out there than just you. You have to take everybody into consideration and respect their position, right? Well, that's where I would put it into a memo, because you're probably right, my friends. But remember that you need them to pay you, and you need to provide your service to them if you're self-employed. Write a kind of memo thanking them for their business. We are very excited to move forward in this direction that you have chosen. Okay? Don't put it in italics, even though I think you freaking should. You're worth it. You deserve it. But they're not going to see it that way. So in terms of new beginnings, remember, Mars entering Scorpio could have you very aggressive in the way that you think this should go. I want you to kind of back off a bit and remember, you're like a racehorse at the gate, but it's not time. The gate will not lift. No funky rabbit is going to mechanically, haul off ahead of you. Just remember that at the same time, my friend, that you're right, it isn't always going to be worth proving it to an employer that you were and that they were wrong. That's where I want you to go, shh, 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 shh. As much as you're going to be steaming, I guarantee you. You're going to have a lot of moments of steam in your career where you're like, I know this isn't how it should be, but, do the best you can. The universe never provides us with windows and doors and opportunities and or situations, consequences, or repercussions that are not in line with the bigger picture. And if anyone's about the bigger picture, it's you, Aquarius. When it comes to your family or finances, remember, you're part of this. Don't get sucked up into their excitement. If they want to take you on a trip around around the world in a balloon, and you're like, yeah, pretty much no, because the expense and the timing and this and that, and or B, I don't have life insurance, So think about it. Use the energies to your best advantage, and remember, you are a badass, but not everybody can see things as accurately and as in a visionary way as you do. Again, I'm going to reiterate this. If I ever wanted somebody to partner with me, even on a creative level, who do you think I'd choose? You tell me. Aquarius. If I ever wanted somebody to stand there and hold a creative thought, it would be Aquarius. You guys are like lead, when it comes to this. You won't budge, which is actually very good for creative endeavors when you've got to get to the next hump, but we got to hold this position without the entire crew. For example, you're writing a book and this is going to be a group effort and you've got to, pitch this to people. You need somebody who could go there and say, no, I actually know that this is where we're at. We're not going to go back and change this. They may make you, depending on your position, right? But if ever there was a person who could be visionary, futuristic, creative, and freaking awesome, it's you. Now, remember, again, if it's your family and they're trying to, spend the money in the kitty before the kitty gets fat, that's when you have to say, I love you, but nothing doing. When we can get to this point where we're making more money than we're spending, then we can do that. We'll go 90 days, 80 days, what was that, 80 days around the world. But remember, once we've all got death benefits so that we can make sure that we protect those who are not so excited about the whole thing to begin with. God bless you. I'll be talking to you soon. I love you guys. Honestly, I wish I had like a freaking team of you people right behind me. Right about now would be good.